What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into TTP Sports. And yes, more Eagles talk on the docket. Uh, still feels like it's turmoil. Still feels like, many billion questions that need to be answered have not been answered fully yet by this team. Basically, today for the Eagles, it was mainly exit interviews, players cleaning out their locker rooms, Nick Sirianni having discussions with Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman and all that stuff. There actually has been some stuff that has been coming out on Twitter in the past couple of minutes here, so I do, basically changes the entire discussion that I was going to have. I'm not sure if it changes the entire discussion that I was going to have, but it brings more light to the point that I do want to prove just because I just don't agree with the possible thing that is going on here. And yeah, this team right now, you got a lot of the players during their exit interviews, when they're cleaning their locker rooms, talking to the media and all that stuff. Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, a lot of the veterans on this team. The veterans that have been here for a very long time. And right now, they're basically saving face. They're not putting blame on the coaching staff. They're not putting blame on Nick Sirianni. Majority of the blame has been going towards the players from the players' perspective. Like, they got to perform better. This is not in the coaching staff and all that stuff. And obviously, they're going to give those type of answers. That's basically what it's going to be. And you also got, Fletcher Cox, telling Jeff McClain that he's a clown for even bringing up the possible question that Nick Sirianni's job's in jeopardy, telling Jeff McClain to get out of here and all that stuff. So I really hope this is not turning into a freaking Eagles players, coaches versus the media and all of this crap. I really hope it's not going to be that type of case and that type of deep. Just because I just don't need that happening. I don't need more turmoil to just adding fuel to the fire. I just don't need that. I don't need that at all. The season just ended a couple of days ago. This team has been collapsing, or has collapsed for 7 to 8 weeks at this point. The collapse has already ended. And we're not even 2 days after the Eagles just got eliminated from the playoffs. And we're already doing all this crap. And it's just like, oh my God. And we haven't even gotten the full, press conferences from Nick Sirianni himself, from Jeffrey Lurie, from Howie Roseman. I do believe those guys are going to be speaking tomorrow, so we'll definitely see what those guys have to say. But getting into some of the things that did break in the past couple of minutes, this comes from Diana Rossini of The Athletic, senior NFL insider. She posted this around 30 minutes ago. She says both Eagles GM Howie Roseman and head coach Nick Sirianni have been reaching out to available NFL coaches and coordinators, as well as coaching agents across the league, to evaluate potential coordinator candidates to join their coaching staff as they plan for the 2024 season. And that popped up on my feed. Like I said, she posted this 30 minutes ago, and I'm just thinking to myself, wow. I was going to go into this entire video saying that the Eagles should fire Nick Sirianni, that Nick Sirianni, completely gut the entire coaching staff, restart there from square one, get a guy that's a head coach that can actually run an offense, that doesn't have to rely on his coordinators, that can actually draw up plans on the spot, someone that you can rely on in situations where a play needs to be called and he has the right play to chalk up for that specific situation. And then the offensive coordinator is a nice complementary piece for that, position. He can bring in his own ideas to the head coach. The head coach can implement those ideas into the game plan. And then your defensive coordinator is your defensive coordinator. They're not going to have major changes into the offense, but they're going to fucking fix this defense. We all know that the defensive coordinator was going to be addressed because obviously Sean Desai is not coming back. Matt Patricia, he's not coming back. He should be already in the freaking airport. He shouldn't have been allowed to fly back to Philadelphia. In my honest opinion, that should not have been the case at all. Should not have been the case. Because the defense got worse when you put Sean Desai up there in the booth. And yeah, Sean Desai was not the best defensive coordinator in the world. At least he put up some good showings against certain teams, like, against Miami. He shut out KC in the second half and all that stuff. You got worse under Matt Patricia. That is basically it. Part of the collapse is switching your goddamn defensive coordinators for the play calling to Matt Patricia. That is part of the reason why you collapsed. Holy shit. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how bad it got. And yes, they are going to address that position, thank God. I don't know where they're going to look for in terms of defensive coordinators. I don't know where that's going to be. The process has probably been starting since yesterday. Who knows? The process has probably been starting for the last couple of weeks of the season. Freaking Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie be like, holy shit, this is terrible. We got to go get on top of this right now and look for guys because this defense sucks. Even though Howie Roseman is mostly responsible for the defense for lacking and ignoring certain positions. That's basically it. When you ignore the linebacking position for so long in the draft, the secondary position, your safeties, your corners, when you ignore those positions for so long, you see the repercussions. When you're having to pick up guys off the streets, Leonard, Roby, when you have to re-sign James Bradbury, who's washed. Guy can't make a tackle for his life. Gets burned on every single target he gets. So he gets stuck in. Because you don't draft young guys in those positions out of college in the first round. You draft them in the later round of the draft hoping they turn into something. Instead of trying to get a guy that has a better chance of turning into something in the first and the second round. You just don't do that. You don't do that. Howie doesn't do that. And yes, building within the trenches is definitely a most important aspect of your football team. But when you're constantly surplusing both the defensive and the offensive line, and then you just completely ignore the other positions, you're going to see holes there. Yes, one of Howie's weaknesses was the wide receiver position. Made many mistakes there until he got Devontae Smith, until he made the trade for A.J. Brown. He fixed those positions. Yeah, he learned. Is he going to learn about the linebacking position? Is he going to learn about the secondary positions? Is he? I don't know. Because when you're dropping Hassan Reddick in the coverage, when Nolan Smith's being dropped in the coverage, when your defensive end who should not be dropping in the coverage are getting dropped in the coverage, yeah, you see the issue there. You see the issue there. When Matt Patricia joins the squad as the play caller, and Hassan Reddick is basically non-existent because he's being forced to drop in the coverage because no other guy is good enough. There's your issue. There's one of your issues there. Many issues. Many issues. It's funny. It's very funny. Like I said, the entire point of this video was going to be me talking about firing Nick Sirianni. And at this point, when I brought up that Diana Rossini tweet, it doesn't sound like it's going to happen. Nick Sirianni is part of the process of finding new coordinators. Okay, I guess this is where we're at. They're going with option B, I guess you can say. I was going to assume there was two options to this entire situation that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie could pick from. Option A is gut everything, gut the entire coaching staff and start from scratch there. Or option B, you keep Nick Sirianni and you replace the coordinators around him and come back next season with different coordinators under Nick Sirianni and see if that works. It looks like they're choosing that option. So I was originally, before the full collapse, like when we were probably halfway through the collapse, I was probably thinking to myself, okay, maybe Nick Sirianni does deserve another year with brand new coordinators to see if he can right the ship. But then when everything just got worse and kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, I'm just like, has he lost the locker room to the point where it just can never be fixed with Nick Sirianni under the helm? And I still don't think it can. I don't think it can, just because of how lost it got. I understand there's so many players defending Nick. They love Nick. They're defending him in all the exit interviews and all that stuff. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Personally, I just don't. I don't think Nick is that guy you can rely on to have a competent game plan. I just don't think it is. From what I saw, what we all saw this entire season, there's just nothing to it that makes me confident that he can just magically come up with a brand new type of offense that works in a span of an off season. I just don't think that can be the case. And if you're bringing in two new coordinators, okay, say if you do bring in a new offensive coordinator that does fix everything, and the offense goes back to close to resembling what it was during the Super Bowl run 2 years ago at this point. if it does go back to resembling that. Well, 2 to 3 years separated from that, if this new coordinator does bring the offense back to what it's supposed to be, brings Jalen Hurts back to his MVP form, and all of that stuff, they look like an elite offense again. That guy's just going to be poached in 2 to 3 years again. And you're in the same song and dance routine that you are in now. Maybe the collapse isn't as bad, but you'll understand what I'm saying. When Frank Reich got poached after the Eagles won the Super Bowl then, offense went to shit. And then never able to recover. Now, right now, you lost Shane Steichen after the Super Bowl run. Offense doesn't look like it's been recovered. And yes, it's only been 1 year and all that stuff, but you understand what I mean. It feels like at this point they're just putting all the blame on Brian Johnson and moving on and bringing in a new coordinator. That's what it feels like right now. Because I don't know if it was Nick Sirianni calling the plays. We're still never going to know that. Nick will put all the blame on himself to push blame away from Brian Johnson, and that's what a head coach is supposed to do. But I still don't know. We still don't know, like, who was the person that's calling the plays? Who was the one that's drawing up these 20 billion screen passes? Seriously. There was a tweet out there that is, I believe, 10 plus minutes long. It could be 15 minutes for all I know. That shows every single screen pass that the Eagles have done this year. A whole 10-minute video worth of that. Highlights from this past season of just screen passes. And I could definitely tell you 99.9% of those screen passes were unsuccessful. I could tell you that from face value. Now, I'm not going to put myself through 10 plus minutes of just that garbage. I'm not going to watch that entire video. But I could tell you from face value that 99.9% of that was very unsuccessful. That's just me, at least. I just don't like the fact that we're going to try to bring back Nick Sirianni and 2 new coordinators. Yeah. Now, yes, say it does turn successful, you get back to the Super Bowl, everything gets fixed, and say you win a Super Bowl. No one cares at the end of the day. No one cares at the end of the day. You got the ultimate goal, and that's to win a Lombardi trophy. But say if it doesn't happen, but still the offense returns to form, you're still an elite offense, you're not as in turmoil as you used to be, and somehow the defense does get fixed. Still, the point remains. That offensive coordinator is going to be poached. Whether by it's a team that's going to give him more power or a team that wants that specific person for a head coaching position. That's what it happens all around the league. It happens all around the league. There's already speculation about many offensive coordinators around the league right now that are up for head coaching positions that could be top candidates. Houston's coordinator, I believe Detroit's coordinator. There's a lot of them out there. I'm sure Eric Bieniemy from Washington Commanders, I'm sure he's up for a head coaching position at this point. So there's a lot of people out there that are going to get poached. And yes, some coordinators do choose to stay coordinators. They don't want the full gig. They want to just run the offense, and that's basically it. They don't want the full gig. They don't want the full power. But a lot of them, do take those opportunities. And when you are a good team consistently, and you find that sustained success, yes, you're going to be that team that gets their coaches poached, their coordinators poached to other teams just because you find success. It happened after Doug Peterson with Frank Reich, and it happened after, with Shane Steichen. It's just going to keep, and Denard, why do I forget his last name? That went to the Baltimore Ravens. Everyone here in Philadelphia loved him. On the Eagles loved him. Denard Wilson, I believe. Denard Wilson, everyone loved him here. And then he left. People weren't happy with that. Ravens, I believe he's still the defensive back coach for the Ravens. And look how good that team is. And we'll see how far they do go in the playoffs. Their game's this week against Houston after the bye week for them. But I just don't like the idea of it. I was probably more for the idea a few weeks ago, but I'm just not there. I'm just not there. I just don't see Nick Sirianni as that guy. I don't see Nick Sirianni as that guy at all. And I know there's a lot of players that are, putting their support out there for Nick Sirianni, but then you get Jalen Hurts' quote. I believe this was the quote after the game. if I'm not mistaken, unless this was Jalen Hurts during his exit interviews. So this is from Eagles Nation. The whole quote here: Jalen Hurts on the speculation around Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson's jobs. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know that was a thing. So I don't see why that would be the case. We plan on fixing everything that we've done and growing together, Coach Sirianni and Brian and everyone. Well, Jalen's going to give you his usual spiel, acting like he's clueless. Oh, I haven't heard. You've heard the speculation. Your entire locker room is hearing that speculation. There's no way that you don't hear it, Jalen. There just isn't. There's no way in hell that you don't hear the speculation. It's just ridiculous. But there is also something that is funny. The Dallas Cowboys, they are retaining Mike McCarthy, so I guess they didn't learn their lesson either. So Mike McCarthy's coming back for another, I believe it's its final year of his contract with the Cowboys. So I guess they haven't learned either. I guess they just haven't learned. What else? What else? What else? I do believe there's got to be more things here. Nope, just more things from that. More people just reacting to the Diana Rossini post. That's basically it there. Like, yeah, I know things can change in a span of a day, 24 hours, a couple of days, a couple of weeks, so on and so forth. Things can definitely change. Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman can definitely make a change on their decisions and everything like that. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. I just don't trust it. And yes, if you do make these replacements and they do lead to the ultimate goal and your team does rebound, you end up winning a Super Bowl some point. Yes, we don't care at the end of the day. I just don't think with the constant turnover, that this team has been doing every 2 or 3 years, I just don't think it's sustainable. I personally do not think it's sustainable. I think you need a head coach, especially with this, this today's NFL, where it's very offensive oriented, where offense, offense, offense. You need to score points. You need to beat teams. You got to score 30 points on the board. You got to have a dynamic offense. You got to hit the deep balls. You got to hit those big plays. You got to have something that's special out there and something that's exciting, offensively wise. And I don't think Nick Sirianni is just a guy that can dial up that type of offense. I just don't see it. I personally don't see it. And you just bringing in a new coordinator just only for him eventually to get poached. You're just going to be in the same dance routine for the 2 to 3 years away from now. I just don't like that. I'd rather have a guy in position that already knows what his offense is going to be. What's his offense, how this is going to happen, how this is going to work, and then your offensive coordinator complements that. He brings his idea to the books. Your head coach implements those ideas into the play calling, but it's mainly your head coach that's the main play caller. That's the one drawing up the offense. I'd rather have that long term as your head coach than a guy that relies on his coordinator to make those plays. Because that said coordinator, if he's successful at doing what he is doing, he is just going to get poached by another organization for a position of power or a head coaching gig. I just don't know, man. I just don't know. Because if I'm thinking in terms of head coach, I would go after Houston's offensive coordinator. I would go after Bobby Slowick, personally, in my opinion, or even Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. I would even go after him. But I'm more in terms of Slowick, offensive coordinator. Look at what he's doing with C.J. Stroud this year. He also worked with the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan for a lot of years. I believe he worked originally on the defensive side, but then he eventually moved into the offensive side of the ball, became an offensive assistant, became the passing game coordinator, and especially when he got into that position, in comes, Brock Purdy, and he becomes, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So I like that, idea that the way that he's been implementing his offense and the way that he's been working with quarterbacks, because it's worked for Brock Purdy and it's worked for C.J. Stroud. Why can't it work for Jalen Hurts? Why can't it work for Jalen Hurts? I just don't like the idea of the just replacing the coordinators and keeping Nick. I just don't like the idea. Maybe it does become successful. Maybe you do get that ultimate goal, but right now I'm skeptical. I'm very skeptical at the point, and you could tell by my tone. I've been saying it the entire time. I'm sure the entire city of Philadelphia is skeptical. Even the pure optimist of optimists. I'm sure they're very skeptical about this, even though there's some people that, they look at things very blindly and they said, oh, believe in your team no matter what, blah, 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 blah. I believe in Nick Sirianni, blah, 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 all that crap. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And just some of the quotes that you've been seeing from earlier today from the exit interviews. I'm going to bring them up right now. Fletcher Cox. Where we at? Quote here from Fletcher Cox. Come on, man. What is there to talk about? This is about Sirianni. This man, he's a winner. He's a winning head coach. Did we have some bumps this year? Yeah, but every team, every organization, everybody goes through it. But we don't look at firing a man who obviously has won 10+ games 2 years in a row. That's took this organization to 3 playoff appearances 3 years in a row. That's a respect. Coaches, he is a good leader of this team. He does a really good job. Did we come up short? Yeah. Did things happen this year? Yeah, but I don't discuss about firing a man. This man has a family. I don't discuss about anything that. And then even Jordan Mailata was even very supportive about him. He took us to the Super Bowl playoffs 3 straight years. That has to mean something. I love that he is my coach. What else there? That's basically all that is in this article. And this article also puts up to the point in the headline that Nick Sirianni is offering a plan to Jeffrey Lurie for the offseason, and then Jeffrey Lurie is going to make that decision on whether to keep Nick Sirianni as the head coach or not, which right now it does look like Nick Sirianni is staying as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're just going to be replacing the coordinators. That's what it looks like. Basically what it is from everything here. This is also from Brendan Deeg, NFL news editor for The Score, here on Twitter. Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni have been reaching out to coaches across the league to join their 2024 staff. Just basically reposting what Diana Rossini said. Sounds like Nick Sirianni's job is safe. I don't know what else to say, man. I don't know what else to say. Doesn't sound like Nick Sirianni is being fired. That is basically it. Don't think there's anything else here. Just trying to see if there's anything else here on Twitter in terms of this thing from Nick Sirianni. I don't think there's anything from local reporters, beat reporters, or anything like that. But mainly from the national side, it does sound like that everything could possibly be fine with Nick Sirianni, for the most part, at least. I don't think there's anything else here. And there's also still talk about Jason Kelce and all that stuff. I guess we could bring that up for a little bit here before we get to the Anytime Hotline. So I know with Adam Schefter and all that stuff, and talking about now after the game he's retiring basically and all that stuff, and then Jason Kelce went on his podcast with his brother, and basically said that it's up to him. Like, he's not going to rush the process and the decision making. He wants to go out on his own terms and all that stuff. It still sounds like from his tone of voice that he's still planning on retiring. It's just he wants to go out on his own terms, and he doesn't want the media to basically spread the message that he's retiring. He wants to say it himself. He wants to come out himself saying all that stuff. So that's basically it there. He's probably retiring. I guess it was due time for eventually that was going to happen. Honestly, I think we all probably would have understood if the Eagles won the Super Bowl last season. He probably would have retired after that game, but he came back just for the faith that he thought this team could win again and go back to the Super Bowl. But Father Time has been undefeated. Father Time's undefeated. It doesn't stop anybody. Well, people can't stop Father Time. You age out of the NFL. Your body just doesn't work the same as it used to. 1 year, your body, could heal up perfectly fine. Something that, is sore maybe for a day or two turns into sore for a whole week, a whole 2 weeks at this point. Your body just doesn't function the same. And Jason Kelce's getting older in this league. And especially in a very physical, high-contact sport, your body's not going to be the same the more you get older and older and older. And Kelce has been basically going through this decision for a long time now, for a few seasons at this point. And, with his wife and everything like that, with his family, I'm sure it's a very difficult decision. I'm leaning more on the side that he's retiring because it just sounds like that from the tone of his voice. You saw the hug that he had with Jeff Statland after the game. You saw all the stuff after the game when, him, the slow walk through the tunnel and into the locker room, the tears going down his face walking through the tunnel. It's just, I think the writing's on the wall there. I just think he's done. I just think he's, his body's given him all that he could. And I think that was the last time we saw Jason Kelce in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. And it sucks to say that's the last time we'll see him in a uniform, just because how poorly the game was and how poorly the season ended. Because, yes, he did win a Super Bowl, but he deserved another Super Bowl. That's basically the bottom fact. At least he did win a Super Bowl. At least he did. I think he just deserved one more to go out on. That's just what I think. If he somehow does a complete 180 on us and comes back again, I would not be shocked because that would be a pure Jason Kelce move. But I just do feel like from all the tone and all that stuff, it does sound like he's retiring. It does fully sound like he's retiring. And that's going to be a huge loss for this team if that's the case. That's going to be a huge loss. A huge area to replace. I don't know how you fix it. You do have guards in there. Jeff Statland, Statland University and all that stuff. But, I don't know. It's difficult. This team's in utter turmoil, man. I don't like the way that they're pushing with the new coordinators from what it sounds like. I'd rather just start fresh with a brand new offensive mind at the helm. But if it does turn successful, I guess I don't care. I guess we won't care at the end of the day if it does get you to your ultimate goal. I just don't like the constant flip-flopping every 2 or 3 years. I just don't like that. From my personal opinion, I just don't like that at all. Man, it does suck. It does suck, though. But let's get to the Anytime Hotline. We do have a voicemail here. We have one from Sean, who did not leave one after the game on Monday. I guess Sean just fell asleep. He already knew they were going to lose, so he fell asleep at this point. Sean, I don't know your personal life there, man. So, Sean, did you fall asleep during the game, and that's why you didn't leave a voicemail here? But we'll figure it out what you think here about this whole situation. So let's get to the voicemails here. Let's get to Sean so he can shut me up so I can stop talking.
So at the time I make this call, I haven't heard any news regarding Sirianni's future. Whether he stays, whether he goes, as of yet has not been determined. But I've got to say this. I wouldn't say the result of that is irrelevant to me, but I think it's small compared to the bigger issues on this team. Look, to me, changing the head coach and coaching staff is easy. Changing the culture and the philosophical ways that this organization is run is the hard part. I mean, until you get I don't know, the word or whatever from Lurie and Roseman that, hey, we're willing to bring in a coach that runs a more aggressive defense. We're willing to bring in a coach that may want to run the ball a little bit more, that uses motion in the offense, etc. Then I'll start buying into it. But to me, what I think is going to happen, I'd say it's 60-40 that Sirianni is fired. But I think he's going to be replaced with another new, hot-shot, offensive-minded head coach. And what's really going to change here? I mean, Belichick's not coming here. Harbaugh's not coming here. Guys like that are not coming here. So, again, to me, in a nutshell, I think it's kind of much ado about nothing, but we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah, that's all we can do at this point. Wait and see. Wait and see what the moves are going to be. And mostly, yeah, if they hired a new head coach, I'm not sure if it would be. I feel like for defensive-minded, they would probably hire an experienced guy. I think they might go that route just because the past couple of seasons, yeah, you did bring in, John Gannon and all that stuff. He was inexperienced and everything there. You did bring in Sean Desai. He was a more experienced guy. So maybe they do go the inexperienced route with defensive side. And they do go poach someone from a team that has a high-powered defense and they bring him in here to try to teach those philosophies there. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if those are the cases, but that's basically what the NFL is. It's the new hot shot guy. The Eagles, for guys like Bill Belichick and all that stuff, it's just, I don't think the personalities would mesh. I don't think the personalities would mesh at all. For guys that want a lot of power, and Howie Roseman's not going to want to give up that power. It's going to be a very difficult thing, but I would like to see, you know, because I do think for head coaching, in this state, in this, era of the NFL, you do need an offensive minded head coach. I do think that's just the case there. A guy, like I said earlier, a guy that does know how to script an offense, a guy that knows how to make play calls, run a playbook, and everything like that, etc. I think you just need that in today's NFL. I know there's some head coaches out there that are defensive minded and they let the offensive coordinator do majority of the the playmaking there on the offensive side. I just don't want to run through the risk of constantly flip flopping your coordinators again and again and again after this. Which, even though that's most likely going to be the case because you are hiring brand new coordinators, but I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This team, man, it's very frustrating to think about. But it's also still funny that the Cowboys are bringing back McCarthy. I do find that funny. Both the Eagles and the Cowboys fan bases are in turmoil, I guess you can say at this point. Both it's both funny for both sides, but we both feel each other's pain, I guess, at the end of the day. I guess Eagles and Cowboys fans can agree on something for once, that they're both pissed off that their franchises did not fire their own head coach. Okay, Diana Rossini just posted another one retweeting the entire thing. Though this may suggest that Nick Sirianni's job is safe, I am told he has not met with owner Jeffrey Lurie, something that was not possible today because of the logistical issues. Until that meeting happens, all bets are off. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. You say one thing, I don't know. I don't know. Because if Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman are already looking for coordinators, wouldn't that mean Nick Sirianni's job is safe? Like, wouldn't that just be on face value that his job is safe? Yes, I know Jeffrey Lurie, things can change in a span of 24 hours. I get that. I don't know. Man. Don't know. Don't know. I don't like it. But we are getting very long here. I'll get to you guys in the chat here before we end it off. Who knows? Well, I'm trying to debate on what we're doing tomorrow because tomorrow Flyers play against the Dallas Stars. So I'm definitely thinking of what to do in terms of that specific scenario. Because I'm assuming Jeffrey Lurie and all that stuff, they're going to be having their meeting at some point. Him and Nick Sirianni, they're going to be having their press conferences at some point. So I do want to get something done for that, whether it is tomorrow, whether it is Friday. So it's just basically waiting and seeing for that case. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll definitely have Flyers recap tomorrow night after that game, and then we'll just basically wait by ear whatever happens with the Eagles at this point. Is it almost spring training yet? Is it almost spring training yet? Getting close. Getting close to that fact. You guys in the chat. You guys in the chat. Corey, no Sixers or Flyers to watch tonight. Might as well complain about the Eagles. Yeah, basically. Matt Patricia should be banned from the NFL, from all NFL teams. I agree. I agree, Eugene. I agree. Dallas folds no matter who's coaching, so the only team you want to see Patricia on might be the Commanders, Giants, or 49ers just for the sabotage. I don't even know where Matt Patricia get the job at some point. He probably ends up getting another job with Bill Belichick at this point, wherever Bill Belichick goes. Mind Freak, that's frustrating to hear. I was really hoping he was going to get fired. Nick won't be fired unless we start next year 2-6. Yeah, how about them Sixers? Yeah, good win, good back-to-back wins. Joel Embiid against Denver Nuggets and all that stuff. That was fun to watch. I do want to bring more Sixers stuff into the mix. I do. We'll definitely get more consistent with that as the days go along. I eventually will do that, so don't worry. Once we get closer and closer to the playoffs, we'll start putting more Sixers content up here. I just really haven't been able to watch the games as consistently, just with everything going on and all that crap. I just haven't been able to. Eugene, God bless Jerry and his Fort Worth sides. I'm shocked that Dallas is retaining McCarthy. Jerry must be senile. Are you shocked, Sean? Are you shocked? What the Eagles should do is offer Harbaugh whatever he wants to come here and mold the team in his vision. Maybe we should get the fan who threw popcorn at Nick for the other night to try with the rocks this time. I don't think we have to go that route. I do think fans go too far with that stuff. You don't have to throw popcorn at the guy. You don't. You don't have to throw popcorn. You don't have to throw anything there. I do think as a fan base we go overboard. All fan bases, we go overboard with those certain situations. Another Fangio disciple on defense. Who knows? Maybe Fangio himself. Who knows? Who knows? He was brought in as a consultant during the Super Bowl. Press conference at 4:00 Thursday. Will I be where I will be introduced as the next Eagles head coach? Yeah, right. That's why I'm not an NFL head coach, Sean. I can sit here and complain to a microphone all I want. I'm not making those decisions, Sean. I'm not getting paid to make those decisions and embarrass myself out there. That's Nick Sirianni's job. That's Nick Sirianni's job. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Nope, nothing here on Twitter. Nothing here on Twitter. Nope. Do not see anything right here on Twitter. Then someone on Twitter posted, this is Brendan Deeg of The Score. He says, "Yo, Lurie, if you need to bring in your list of coaches to help your offensive-minded head coach build an offense because he is incapable of doing so, there's a problem." That's funny. That is funny. But I think that's where we're gonna end it today, boys. So, Eagles, at face value, do not look like they're firing Sirianni. They're going the new coordinators route. So we'll see what that takes us over the next couple of days. We'll see if anything else comes out, either tomorrow or Friday. So we'll see. We'll see. So just tune. You'll see stuff pop up in your subscription feed whenever it does. Like I said, we'll have Flyers recap tomorrow night after that game, and depending on what happens tomorrow or Friday with Sirianni, Lurie, and all that stuff, whatever more news comes out, we'll have it right here in terms of recording or live stream, just depending on what I can do at that certain time. We'll have that there. Like I said, it'll pop up in your subscription feed. But for right now, thanks guys for joining tonight. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. I like to see those as always. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. Also use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SEATGEEK. Great deal. Don't pass it up. Thank you guys once again for joining tonight. Appreciate you all for joining. I'll see you next time.